Sometimes, what weighs you down isn't in your hands. It's in your past. Terminal C at Red Hollow International Airport in Ohio was unusually loud that gray March morning. The hum of muffled loudspeaker announcements mixed with a sharp screech of suitcase wheels across polished floors. Officer Thatcher Malun, a veteran airport security agent, stood alert. At his side was Bishop, a Belgian Malinois with an almost eerie sense of smell and an energy that never seemed to rest. The dog moved in quick, purposeful sniffs, tracing the floor like he was following a scent only he could recognize. For 7 years, Thatcher had trusted Bishop's instincts more than any human partner. But today, something in the dog's behavior felt off. Then she appeared, a tall blonde woman, moving carefully through the crowd, balancing 2 paper bags in her hands. Her pregnant belly pressed against a crisp white blouse, hidden beneath a dark navy coat. She was in her final trimester, no doubt about it. Her name was Marlo Ashford, and everything about her seemed deliberate. Oversized sunglasses, way too dark for indoors. Simple flats, chosen for comfort. A face that was calm. Too calm, especially in a place filled with tearful hellos and goodbyes. But the second Bishop saw her, everything changed. The dog froze. Then growled. Then barked, loud, sharp, relentless. Not in anger, but in warning. Thatcher tightened his grip on the leash, trying to keep Bishop steady. But the dog's body was tense, muscles rigid, fur bristling. He never reacted like this to pregnant women. Never. Marlo didn't flinch. She didn't stop. But behind those dark glasses, her eyes locked onto the dog. And there was something chilling in that stare. Not fear. Not confusion. Something closer to recognition. Like she knew exactly why Bishop was barking. "I need you to stop for a moment," Thatcher called out, firm but measured. Marlo hesitated. Then, she took 2 more steps, and collapsed. The sound of her body hitting the floor rang out like a thunderclap. The bags fell, spilling their contents, papers, small bottles, a sealed envelope, and a tiny stuffed bear, scattering across the cold tiles. Everything froze. Time held its breath. Thatcher was at her side instantly, calling for medical backup through his radio. Bishop wouldn't stop barking, but this time it wasn't aggression. It was panic, like he was trying to say something. And that's when Thatcher saw it, an envelope near her hand, crumpled, stained, but unmistakable. On it, written in shaky, deliberate cursive, was a single word. "Sorry." This wasn't just a letter. It was a warning. And in that moment, as the sound of distant sirens grew closer, Thatcher had a sinking realization. This woman and whatever she was carrying was never meant to reach this airport. But now it was already too late. Some names are buried for a reason. The paramedics arrived within minutes. But to Thatcher, it felt like hours. Marlo lay unconscious, her breathing shallow, skin as pale as the airport's tile floor. A thin trail of sweat rolled down her temple. Bishop had finally gone silent, but he refused to move from her side. His ears were low, eyes fixed on her face, like he was guarding something. As one EMT lifted her wrist to check for a pulse, Thatcher noticed her left hand. She was gripping something tightly. A necklace. But not just any necklace. A military dog tag. Scratched. Aged. And stamped with a name he hadn't seen in over 2 decades. Thatcher froze. Hollis Rer. The name hit him like a punch to the chest. Memories flooded back. Uniforms. Heat. Sand. Gunfire echoing across a desert far from here. Hollis was more than a name. He was someone Thatcher had tried to forget. That tag, it should have been buried years ago, along with its owner. So, what the hell was it doing in the hands of a woman he'd never met? The EMT clipped her ID to the stretcher, reading it aloud. Marlo Ashford. Thatcher's mind raced. The envelope. The necklace. The name. Something didn't add up. He reached for the sealed envelope, slipping it into his coat pocket. He didn't know why. Instinct? Guilt? Or maybe because whatever was inside wasn't meant for just anyone. As they wheeled her away, Bishop strained against his leash, letting out a soft, broken whimper. Thatcher knelt, gripping the dog's collar. "You knew something, didn't you?" he murmured. Bishop let out another low, aching sound. One Thatcher had only heard once before. The day Hollis didn't come back. Back in the staff office, Thatcher sat under the harsh fluorescent light, staring at the envelope. The handwriting on it was unmistakable. It wasn't Marlo's. It was Hollis's. Slanted. Rushed. Uppercase. Just like he always wrote when he was under pressure. But Hollis was dead. Kia confirmed. Funeral held. Coffin closed. So how did this letter exist now? In 2025? Thatcher exhaled, the metal chair creaking beneath him. Slowly, carefully, he opened the envelope. Inside was a single page, yellowed at the edges. His hands trembled as he unfolded it. The first line made his heart stop. "If you're reading this, it means I failed to keep my promise. Some ghosts don't haunt. They guide." Thatcher read the words again. Slower. His pulse pounded against his ribs, like his body was rejecting the truth. The rest of the letter was written in that same frantic, desperate tone. Half confession, half warning. Hollis spoke of someone from their last tour in Kandahar. A woman named Lena, a civilian translator, and a secret he swore to protect until the day he died. She was carrying more than just her past, the letter read. And I was carrying more than just gear. Thatcher remembered Lena. Not well. She was quiet, always in the shadows, never too close to the soldiers. But Hollis, he had looked at her differently. And now, 22 years later, a woman named Marlo Ashford had collapsed in an airport, holding Hollis's dog tag, carrying his letter. And the math was horrifying. But it made sense. If Lena had been pregnant when Hollis died, Marlo could be the child. But if that was true, why was she here? And why now? A sharp knock on the door yanked him from his thoughts. Officer Dorian Fay, his sharp-eyed young partner, stepped inside. His face was tight. "She's awake," Dorian said. "She's asking for you." Thatcher stood, slowly slipping the letter back into his pocket. The chill in his spine had nothing to do with the cold. "What's her condition?" "Stable." "Confused." "But she said your name specifically." Thatcher frowned. He didn't remember ever meeting Marlo before today. But Bishop's reaction, her asking for him now, this wasn't coincidence. "Thatcher," he said, voice low. A pause. Then a woman's voice, calm, deliberate. "You took the letter." His grip tightened on the phone. "Who is this?" Another pause. Then, "You need to find her before they do. She doesn't know what she's carrying." Something in his chest went tight. "Where is she?" But the line was already dead. Bishop let out a sharp bark, pulling at his leash toward the vent. Thatcher's gut twisted. This wasn't just about Marlo anymore. This was bigger. And if he didn't move fast, it might already be too late.